Chosen one, I need you to sit with me before I say anything else. Whatever you have been carrying these past months, the weight that did not announce itself, the quiet exhaustion no one around you fully understood, the wondering whether you were being punished for something you could not name, none of it was what you thought it was. There was a test happening. You were the one taking it, and without anyone telling you, without a single warning, you finished it. A reading occurred this week in a place above the noise of your daily life, and the conclusion was short, past. Most do not reach that word. Most exit the long season as someone smaller than they began, harder, colder, less themselves. You exited more yourself, and that is the rare result the unseen world rewards. What is being released to you now is not what you would have asked for back when this began. It is better. It is shaped to fit the person the test produced, not the person who entered it. Stay with me, because I am going to show you exactly what is arriving and what to do when it does. Before I go any further, give me your attention for the next 30 seconds, because I want to be honest with you about what this message contains. By the end of the next half hour, I am going to walk you through 5 specific signs that confirm your reward season has already begun in your life, even if you cannot yet name what is shifting. I am going to show you the 3 areas where reward arrives first, and the order it tends to arrive in. I am going to name the one inner obstacle that causes most chosen ones to quietly forfeit the very thing they just earned. And at the very end, I am going to speak something specific over your life in a sealed declaration, words I have been carrying for you since this message was prepared. Everything inside the next half hour is freely given. If at any point your spirit tells you there is something more you need, the resource is in the description and pinned comment below. Do not click unless you feel led. Now, let me show you what you actually passed. There is a hall you cannot see with your eyes, a long one, the kind that runs deeper than any building you have ever stood inside. Records live in that hall, quiet records, kept for the lives of the ones marked for something more. Your record was moved this week from the long shelves where most files wait into a small room at the end of the hall, the room where final readings happen. That movement is what you have been feeling. You did not have a word for it. You called it restlessness. You called it the slow shift. You called it the strange quiet that has been sitting on your shoulders for weeks now, neither heavy nor light, just present. It is the movement of your record into the reading room. And the reason it feels like something is about to be said over your life is because something is. Before I show you what was read, I want to name what has been happening inside you, because most chosen ones miss the signs, and the signs are how you know the season has already turned. The first thing is that you stopped wanting most rooms you used to belong to. People who used to fill your days started to feel like static. This was not depression. This was not isolation. This was the shedding part of the test. Your spirit refusing to drag what does not match the next version of you into the next season. Every time you said no to a conversation that would have drained you, that was the test. The second thing is that small synchronicities started to return. A book falling open to the exact page that answered the question you had been silently asking. A stranger saying the exact sentence you had whispered the night before. A verse, a song, a number that seemed to follow you for 3 days straight. These were not random. The unseen realm sends messages this way when a reading is approaching. Every time you noticed and did not dismiss it, that was the test. The third thing is that your dreams started to carry weight. They became less random and more instructional. Some of them woke you up with a kind of certainty you could not explain. Others left you with sentences in your head you have never heard anyone speak aloud. This was the curriculum delivering its lessons through the only door your mind would not block, the one that opens when you sleep. Every time you took a dream seriously, that was the test. The fourth thing is harder to name, but you have felt it. There were people you used to be unable to forgive. There were memories that used to send a sharp wave of anger through your day. And somewhere, In the past months, without ceremony, you released them. Not because they apologized, not because they deserved it, because something inside you simply finished carrying them. Every time you let an old wound become a quiet scar instead of a fresh cut, that was the test. The fifth thing is the strangest. A new kind of silence has been moving in. Not the silence of numbness, not the silence of giving up, the silence of knowing, the kind that sits at the bottom of you when something has been settled. You may have caught yourself in the middle of an ordinary moment recently and noticed that one specific worry you carried for years has simply stopped speaking. Every time you noticed that silence and did not rush to fill it, that was the test. There is a word in Old Hebrew for what was happening to you. The word is bachan. It does not mean to punish. It does not mean to break down. It means to examine the way a master metallurgist examines gold, heating it, watching what rises to the surface, removing what is not gold, returning what remains. Bachan is what happens when the one who made the metal needs to know if it can hold the next weight. You were not being broken. You were being read. And the reading is over. You might think the recognition we just walked through is the message. It is not. The recognition is the doorway. The actual message is what was being built inside you while the testing was happening, and that is the part most people never get told. Sit with me for a moment, because what I am about to say should have been told to you long before now. What you lost in the long season was not your life. It was a version of you that could not have carried what is coming next. That version was always going to have to go. The test did not destroy you. It dismantled the parts that were never going to make it into the next chapter. And the grief you felt was not the death of your future. It was the funeral of a person who would have stood in your way. Take a breath while that lands. Now, let me bring you a story you may have heard pieces of before, but never seen the full shape of. There was a young man named Joseph, favored by his father, gifted with dreams, hated by his brothers for both. They threw him into a pit. They sold him into slavery. They told their father he was dead. He did not know in that moment that the pit was the path. He did not know that the road to becoming the second most powerful man in Egypt began the day his family threw him into a hole and walked away. He arrived in Egypt. He worked in a man's house and rose to lead it. He was falsely accused by the man's wife of something he did not do. He was thrown into prison and forgotten there for years. He did not know, in that moment, that the prison was the classroom. He did not know that the dreams he would learn to interpret in that cell would one day be the key that opened Pharaoh's gates. Every place that looked like the end of him was the next door. Every betrayal was a relocation. Every silence was preparation. And here is the part most people miss when they tell Joseph's story. He did not graduate when he reached the palace. He graduated when his brothers, the same ones who threw him into the pit, stood in front of him years later, not recognizing him, asking for food during a famine. He had every right to crush them. He did not. He fed them. He wept. He brought his entire family into Egypt and saved them. That was the moment the test was actually over. Not when he had the position, when he could hold the position without weaponizing it. The gold that is afraid of fire stays buried. The metal that becomes the crown is the metal that did not crack while heating. And the strange thing about being tested is that you do not feel like gold while it is happening. You feel like ash. Listen, because this is the line that matters. What felt like isolation was actually incubation. What felt like delay was actually development. What felt like silence was actually strategy. What felt like punishment was actually preparation. What felt like a season that would never end was actually the closing chapter of a curriculum you did not know you were enrolled in. The test was not about whether you could survive what was happening to you. The test was about who you would become while it was happening. And the answer the unseen world watches for is rare. Most people exit those long seasons as someone unrecognizable, bitter, hardened, smaller than they were before. You did not. You stayed soft where it would have been easier to harden. You stayed honest where it would have been easier to perform. You stayed yourself. That is the gold the fire was looking for. And the version of you that the test produced, the one sitting here right now, is the version who is now eligible to receive what is being released. The earlier version of you could not have held it. That is not a criticism. That is mechanics. The mind that survives long survival mode is not the same mind that receives reward mode. They run on different frequencies, and reactivating the right one is not a matter of effort. It is a matter of mechanism. Let me show you what I mean. Here is a piece of this I want to bring forward now, because some of you already know what I am about to say is what you were brought here for. The brain that endures a long test ends the test in a state most people never recover from on their own. There is a frequency it falls out of. Researchers call it the gamma wave. Children carry it naturally. Modern life dulls it from around age 7 onward. Long survival seasons drain whatever is left. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying how to bring it back. What he made is a 7-minute audio file, the Genius Song. It uses a quiet, measurable process called brain entrainment to lead the brain back into the gamma frequency that has been observed at MIT and Princeton in those rare flow states people associate with genius. If something in you already recognizes this is the tool you have been looking for, the link is in the description and the pinned comment below. Do not click unless your spirit confirms it. The rest of this message has more for you, whether you take that step today or not. For those staying with me, here is what most people misunderstand about reward season. The reward is not what arrives. It is who you became while you were waiting. And in the next part of this message, I am going to show you the 3 areas where the reward starts showing up first, and the one obstacle that causes chosen ones to forfeit the very thing they just earned. Before we cross into the next part, I want you to know one thing about the work behind the audio you just heard mentioned. Dr. Lake did not build a single product. He built a sequence, a body of work he spent decades arranging, a full arc of what he calls the youthful brain, the brain before the world taught it to dim. The 7-minute track is the first door in that sequence. It is the entry point. The rest of the architecture only reveals itself when the first step has been taken, and when the spirit is ready. I am telling you this now, so that nothing you encounter later feels like a surprise. This is not a single offer. It is a path. And like everything in your life right now, it unfolds in order. Now, before this message continues, stay with me through what is next, because the 3 areas where reward arrives first are not the areas most people watch for. They are quieter, they are slower, they are easier to miss. And if you miss them, you will think reward season has not begun when it actually already has. There is also a final declaration I will speak over your life at the very end. I have been holding it for you since the beginning. It is the reason this reached you today. Stay close, we are not done. Welcome back. If you are still here, you are someone who does not run from the longer answers. Let me bring you back to where we left off. The verdict has been read. The long test you did not know you were taking is over. You passed it not by being strong, but by staying yourself. The version of you the fire produced is the version now eligible to receive what was being held back. I told you I would show you the 3 areas where reward arrives first, the one obstacle most chosen ones lose ground at, and the final declaration I have been holding for you since the start. Let me begin with the 3 areas, not in the order you would guess. The first area where reward shows up is not the one you expect. Most chosen ones expect the reward to arrive in their circumstances first. Money, career, a relationship returning, or a new one beginning. Those will come, but not first. Not for you. Not in this season. The first area is internal. You are going to notice peace coming back into a part of you that has not known peace in a long time. There will be a morning soon, if it has not happened already, where you wake up and something feels different. Not better in a dramatic way, just different, lighter. A weight you had grown so used to carrying that you had stopped noticing it will be gone. You will look for it and not find it. That absence is the reward. You will know it because small things become enjoyable again. A cup of tea will taste different. A walk will feel less rushed. Something you used to find irritating will not bother you the same way. This is restoration, arriving in the only place it can truly anchor, inside you first. The second area is your relationships. Watch carefully here, because this one moves in two directions at the same time. People who were never meant to walk beside you into the next chapter will quietly drift. There will be no big argument, no clean ending. They will simply become less present. Conversations will get shorter, plans will get vaguer. You will not need to push them away. The season itself will rearrange the room, and at the same time, new people will start finding you. Some of them you will recognize immediately. There will be a strange sense of having always known them. Others will arrive in roles you did not expect, with offers, ideas, doors that match exactly what your spirit has been quietly asking for. Do not chase any of it. Notice, receive, discern. You will know it because the loneliness that defined the long season will start to lift, not because you forced anything, but because the right kind of company began to arrive when the time was right. The third area is the one that surprises most people. Doors are going to start opening in your blind spot. Not the big doors you have been pushing on, the small ones you have not noticed. A second invitation, a casual offer that turns out not to be casual. A name dropped in conversation that comes back 3 weeks later as an opportunity. Here is the practice that matters now. When something small offers itself to you in the next 60 days, do not dismiss it on its size. Pause before you say no. Ask yourself one quiet question. Is this a door, or is this the door? Most chosen ones forfeit reward season not because the doors do not come, but because they were looking in the direction of the door they expected and walked past the one that was actually meant. You will know it because invitations will start arriving with a strange precision, small in shape, exact in fit. Now, I want you to hear something I do not say lightly. Right now, I want you to hear what was said in the unseen court over your name. I am not editing it. I am letting it through. I have seen the silence you held when it would have been easier to make noise. I have counted what others would have spent. I have watched the way you carried what no one else even knew you were carrying. What I am releasing into your life now is not what you would have asked for back when the testing began. It is better. It is shaped to fit the one you became, not the one who started. Receive it without flinching. Walk into it without apologizing. You are not taking anything that was not earned. You are taking what was prepared while you were faithful. Now stay with me, because the next few minutes are the ones that change everything. I told you there was one obstacle that causes most chosen ones to forfeit the reward they just earned. I am about to name it for you. But before I can, there is something I have to make plain first, because almost no one teaches this part correctly. And getting it wrong is the difference between receiving and watching your reward drift past you. Stay close. Let me settle what we have established before we cross into the next piece. You were tested. The test was real. It was hidden, and that is why most never see it for what it was. But it was real. You passed, not by performing well, but by remaining yourself when becoming someone else would have been easier. The version of you the test produced is the one now eligible to receive what is being released. Reward arrives in 3 areas, and it tends to start with the inside before it moves to the outside. Internal restoration first, relational rearrangement next. Doors opening third. Here is the part most people get wrong. They assume that if they pass the test, the reward will simply walk into their hands. It will not. Not because the reward is being held back, but But because the mind that survived the test is wired differently than the mind that receives the reward, they run on different frequencies, literally, measurably, in the brain. The mind in long survival mode learned to scan for threat, brace for loss, expect more weight. The mind that receives reward needs to be able to let down, open, trust. Those are different settings, and you cannot will yourself from one to the other. This is the mechanism almost no one is teaching. Let me show you what I mean. There is a frequency in the human brain that researchers have spent the last 2 decades studying with quiet intensity. It is called the gamma wave. It is the frequency present when a child plays with full absorption, when a musician disappears into a song, when a person solves a problem they did not know they could solve. Children carry it as their natural baseline. By around age 7, modern living begins to shut it down. They call it the decline effect. By the time most adults are in their 30s, the frequency is operating at a fraction of what it was. Long survival seasons drain whatever is left. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years mapping this across labs at MIT, Princeton, and other leading research institutions. The gamma response can be reactivated. It has been measured on EEG repeatedly. The question was never whether. The question was how. And here is the part I want you to hear before I tell you what he made. You were not born ordinary. The reason the long seasons sit heavier on you than they do on other people is that you were carrying a frequency the modern world is designed to dampen. Chosen ones tend to begin life with gamma running closer to its full capacity than average. That is the inheritance you were born with. It is also what got drained the hardest during the test. Your gamma was active the whole time. That is how you did not become someone else under pressure. There is a destiny embrace that becomes possible only when that frequency is fully restored. You held the line. Now the line gets restored. Let me tell you about a woman I will call by her role, the manager. 47 years old, worked in finance for 2 decades. She started using what Dr. Lake made 18 days in a row and felt nothing dramatic. By day 20, she had opened her email to ask for a refund. Something stopped her. She kept going for 2 more weeks, more out of curiosity than belief. On day 34, she realized she had not felt stuck at work in nearly a week. A decision about a promotion she had been delaying for months had been made without hesitation. She had been sleeping deeply for the first time in over a year. The reward never announced itself. It just arrived as a quieter morning that felt different from the ones before it. Now I know what some of you are already thinking, because I would think it too. Some of you have tried things, meditation, yoga, sound healing apps. None of them move the needle. I understand. This is not in that category. Those approaches ask your brain to change itself from the inside, which is slow and uncertain. Brain entrainment works the other direction. It leads the brain into the frequency from the outside. It is mechanical. It is measurable. It is repeatable. Some of you are thinking it sounds too good. That is your wisdom speaking, and I respect it. So let me give you data instead of promises. Over 18,000 people have used this. Less than 4% asked for a refund. The other 96% kept it. And some of you are thinking $39 is not nothing. You are right. I would never disrespect your situation by treating it as small. Hear me on this. Before I say a word about the price, I want you to know I see the consideration. Here is what the genius song actually is, plainly. A 7-minute audio file. You put on headphones, you close your eyes, you listen. That is it. No meditation training, no mantras, no journaling. The brain entrainment does the rest. Most people feel a shift on the first listening, and the full gamma reactivation builds across the weeks that follow. The original price was $49. Dr. Lake set $39 for people who find it through messages like this one, not because the product is worth less, but because he made it that way on purpose, knowing the people who need it most often cannot pay clinical rates. That price is not on Amazon. It is not on Spotify. It exists only at the link he authorized, the one in the description and pinned comment. For comparison, a single hour of biofeedback at a clinic runs $300. The home devices that map this frequency cost $7,000. Meditation app subscriptions run $100 to $200 a year. $39, paid once, places this in your hands forever, with a money-back guarantee that has no limit on how long you have used it before deciding. 4 bonuses come with it at no additional cost, together worth $80 on their own. A separate audio for children built around the same principle. A book the film The Secret quietly drew from. A guided visualization track. And a 4th resource you will find inside. Now hear me on the urgency, because I do not use urgency lightly. Every day Gamma stays dim is a day prayers feel heavier than they should. Decisions feel foggier than they need to be. Doors that are open look like they are still closed. That is not pressure. That is observation. And the future version of you, the one already living in the reward season, is looking back at this moment. The decision does not need to be perfect. It needs to be honest. All you need is the first step. One thing I want to protect you from. There are knockoff versions of this floating around online. They are not Dr. Lake's actual technology. They do not produce the same response in the brain. The only verified product is the one at the direct link. Do not be confused by imitations. If your spirit confirms this is the next step, the genius song is waiting at the link in the description and pinned comment. If your spirit says, wait, reward season honors honest choices, not rushed ones. Now here is the obstacle I told you about. The one that takes more chosen ones out than the long test itself ever did. It is not laziness. It is not lack of faith. It is not the absence of opportunity. It is your nervous system. You spent years training your body to expect more weight. Your brain learned to scan for threat as a survival function. And the strange, painful truth about long survival seasons is that the body grows attached to them. Survival becomes the familiar shape. And when peace finally arrives, the body does not recognize it as peace. It reads it as suspicious, as a setup, as something that is going to be taken away. This is why most chosen ones get to the edge of reward season and quietly sabotage. Not on purpose. They miss the offer. They postpone the decision. They make themselves smaller, right when the room is opening for them to expand. They deflect what is being given to someone they decide is more deserving. They cannot receive cleanly because their nervous system is still bracing. I want you to hear me carefully. You are not weak for this. You are not unspiritual. You are biological. The same body that kept you alive in the test is now trying to keep you alive against the reward. It does not know the difference yet. You have to teach it. The teaching is permission. You have permission to receive without earning it twice. You have permission to be visible without apologizing for being seen. You have permission to keep what arrives without flinching. You have permission to take up the exact amount of space the new season requires of you, no more and no less. You are not going to sabotage this. You are not going to shrink. You are not going to wait for someone to authorize what was already decided in the chamber over your name. Stay where you are. Whatever you are doing right now, you do not need to move. If you are lying down, stay lying down. If you are driving, keep your eyes open and your hands on the wheel. This is for your spirit, not your body. In your mind, I want you to picture a long hall, not your house, not anywhere you have been. A hall you have only seen in glimpses, the kind that exists at the edge of dreams. At the far end of that hall, a single scroll is open on a small wooden table. Your full name is written at the top. Walk toward it slowly. Take as long as you need. When you reach the table, look down at the bottom of the scroll. There is one word written there in clear, settled script. Read it. This is not imagination. This is recognition. The reading is real. You are simply hearing it consciously for the first time. Notice the quiet that just arrived in the room around you. Notice that nothing in you is fighting this moment. That stillness is what receiving feels like. Stay there for a breath. Just one. Then come back. Now I want to name who you are coming out of this. Not who you hope to be, who you actually are now. You are the tested vessel. That means the heat already happened. That means the integrity of what is in you is established. You do not have to prove anything anymore. You are the faithful witness. You kept the record in silence when no one was watching. That makes you trustworthy with the larger record that is about to be opened. You are the crowned one. The crown was forged in the fire, not handed to you at the end. You are not waiting to receive it. You are carrying it. You are the trusted steward. Reward is given to those who proved they would not weaponize it. That is the rare quality the unseen world is watching for, and that is the quality your test confirmed in you. Let me tell you about a chosen one I will call by her first letter, M. 11 months ago, she was sitting at her kitchen table, looking at the collapse of a small business she had built over 6 years. A major client had pulled out. The cash flow was gone. The next 3 months were going to wipe what was left. She did not pray harder. She did not strain. She did the opposite of what most people would have done. She practiced strategic silence. She stopped consuming the noise that had been making her panic. She started sleeping without guilt. She let herself rest in the middle of a season that was telling her she had no right to rest. 8 months in, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, an old client she had stopped reaching out to a year earlier called her. He was bringing a contract 3 times the size of what she had lost. He said her name had stayed with him, and he had been waiting for the right project to bring to her. She did not win the test by working harder. She won it by becoming someone the reward could find. Sit with me for these last few minutes. There is something I want to do before we close. I have walked you through what was tested, what was built, what is arriving, and what to do when it does. Now, I want to stand still with you for a moment, because some things cannot be taught. They have to be received. Take whatever weight you have been carrying through this entire message and picture it as a heavy coat. The kind you have been wearing so long you forgot it was on. In your mind, slowly remove that coat. Set it down on the ground beside you. Not folded, not preserved, just set down. You are not going to need it where you are going. Now hear what is being said over you in the unseen realm. I am letting it come through plainly. I did not bring you through that fire to leave you in the ashes. I did not test you to forget your name when it was time to write the next chapter. What I am releasing into your life is not separate from who you became. It is the answer that requires the question your test made you ask. Walk into the reward season as the one who was tested and stayed yourself. That is the inheritance no one can counterfeit. You are commissioned. You are crowned. You are sent. And here is something you should know. You are not alone in this moment. All across the world, others who passed the same test are receiving the same message tonight. There is a quiet group of chosen ones being moved into reward season at the same time. You belong to it. It is sealed. Before you leave this moment, type the words I receive into the comments. Not because anyone is watching the comments, because the act of typing it is how your nervous system registers that the reward season has begun. If something inside you moved during this message, if a quiet truth landed in a place that has been waiting for it, leave a like. Not for me. For the next chosen one, scrolling, the next one needs to find this the way you found it. Send this to the friend who has been unusually quiet lately. The one who endured something this year you only half know about. They need to hear the verdict too. Stay close. The next message in this season is being prepared. And the Genius Song link is in the description and pinned comment for anyone whose spirit has been confirming throughout this message. Only if you feel led. Reward season is not in a hurry. Neither am I.